Hello, guys. Welcome to our weekly pick a card reading, Inkblot Oracle style, of course. We're going to dive into, exploring some trickster energies that are about, and thank you to the Inner Circle member who has brought this forward. So we have Coyote or Coyote. If this Inkblot is standing out, if you'd like to step in to dive in deeper and explore, see what you sense or feel as well, you can always comment. So we expand the Oracle experience. Number 2 we have here is Loki. If Loki Energy or simply the portal of the Inkblot is standing out to you and speaking, please follow that. Timestamps are below. And then number 3, we have the Sacred Clown. Take it in, take it in. Whatever stands out to you. Was there a song? Da-na-na-na-na. All right, guys, I will see you at your choice chosen. Until then, go. All right, Coyote, thank you. All right, take it in one more time if you'd like. I'm getting a lot of, I want to say cosmic-y vibes off of this, but very, very rooted in earthly energy. It's like if the pieces of the cosmos, I'm hearing the term called forth to be experienced in earth energy. There's also this kind of octopusy vibe that's happening simultaneously while there's like a good old-fashioned coyote, but I keep hearing it more like coyote. It's kind of like I'm right here. So if this is an energy that you're experiencing within the self, maybe externalized, sure. It's not so much of like a lurker vibe, but it's almost like I'm right here looking at you. So there might be something that's very, I don't want to say very obvious. Sorry, not sorry. I lied. I did want to say that. It feels very obvious. And maybe there's a hesitancy to call that out, to call the coyote out. And whatever that might mean to you. Again, I don't have a precursor or Rolodex related to this energy, so I'm just simply exploring it as it steps forward. Because there's a Yoda in here, but this Yoda-like energy has tambourines. There's also something about this energy in your life, person, place, or thing, corporate, creative, personal, professional, romantic, platonic, makes noise. It's almost like you could be listening to something and then, it's like loud sounds and they're startling. And maybe it's there when it's quiet, it's enough because it's quiet. So it's almost kind of like, okay, this energy's there, but it's quiet. And you kind of know it's looking at you, but it's quiet. And then when it does make a sound or a person's behavior or our own, of course, starting with the self always, when it makes this sound, it is so freaking startling. It's almost, it's an irritant immediately, and it's almost maddening. And okay, I'm back in the cosmic space of it all up here. Like the chakras get startled by this energy. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but there is a teaching to this. It's like, remember, just because when things are quiet, maybe isn't always a reason for us to, I.e. me, of course, enjoy that, but to forget. Maybe this is also something we can see that is reoccurring. Nonetheless, let's keep exploring. There is a gorilla in here. He's right there. Where's my little stick? My little scry stick. There's a gorilla right in here. And it is a silverback gorilla. And as I'm saying silverback, I'm going to smash and merge the silverback of it with a turtleback. So put a silverback gorilla with a turtle shell on its back. How you might relate to a gorilla in peace, in being able to defend, whatever the case is, follow that for you. Okay, there's a person here. It's actually reminding me of, depending on how, or I guess our own memories, but back in the day, like I want to say, like it was my grandparents, and it was my gumpy was a bartender after the war, so like at the Legion and stuff. So great. Anyway, the point being is there was always like this funny little contraption that would like dip. I don't know if it was like sipping or maybe it was a funny little character anyway. And maybe this is in the Coyote, like there's something clever about it. There's cleverty and there's a silliness and a play about it as well. And maybe sometimes you like dipping into the toe with this trickster energy to be taught and trained by it, so that not, maybe it's not a tool you actively use, but it's something that you're training and learning from this energy to be able to see it and recognize it, dare I say, more clearly, and make decisions what you will step forward to and reveal yourself in. Because now I have now flipped of seeing like kind of like what is just obvious, but it's lurking quietly, staring. I don't even want to use the term lurking. It's just staring. Maybe you feel like someone's watching you remotely, energetically, call it what you will. And it's like your training is tuned in on that. So use the training I'm hearing, use the trickster training to your advantage, to your benefit, and moving forward in other alignments that are coming forth. So they're not repetitive and they become, okay, so something has become repetitive but repeatable like an equation, so that now you know 2 + 2 is 4, whatever that, in a very simple way, whatever has been repeatable, that pattern, use it to your benefit. Use it as a strength and say, I recognize this. I know the answer. I don't need to go through confusion, or I'm not going to step into figure, or dare I even say help, because sometimes it's not about you helping because you know the answer. And maybe there's someone or something, I don't know where I am in this, that wants the answer from you and they don't want to discover it for themselves. And your gift, as likable, unlikable as it may be, is to say, I trust that you will find this out on your own. But my answer is not going to be able to be embodied. And maybe this bothers someone. Is this an energy that maybe like bothers an energy or entity outside of you? It just bothers them that you have embodied your answer, not the be all end all answer, just the answer. Oh. And this is what brings into like that Yoda with all this purple down here. It's like this consciousness field, this cosmic consciousness of the Coyote knows how to maneuver and be seen and unseen. This feels like you maneuvering, not in a predator and prey situation. I think that's you can see that pattern. You can see it when it's there, and you're not the prey anymore to that if you have been in some circumstance. And likewise, just, devil's advocate, if you've been overcompensating, and I'll be kinder here as well, training in predator space, especially if it's like a psychic senses of sorts, as that stepping forward through, but maybe there's been very physical alterations, and maybe you've went out and learned how to train, how to fight or defend oneself. I don't know, kung fu's, or I don't know, whatever those things are. And it's not because then you become what you do not like. It's like you learn to utilize those tools. The teaching, man, you embody the teaching. This is not something that, again, I want to say is like an emotional wellness of bliss. And it's like, I'm going to transmute. This is hard work. And I think that's part of why you might, even at this point or at some stage in some aspect, make it look easy. And that can just stick in the craw of some folks. And fair enough, they're being inspired. But here with you here, if you're with Coyote, you know what? Okay, thank you. Down here as well with the Yoda. And then up here, there's like a Rumpelstiltskin. And it's, I don't know if you've just been that cleverty, asking questions clearly. Yeah. You get it? Yeah. Okay. There's also an owl in here. Again, looking at the totality of how you resonate with owl, it's a barn owl. And what they might do as it's stepping forward to blend with their environment, seeing the eyes, like you wouldn't even see necessarily in the spirit of coyote, but maybe like a good old fashioned coyote in the bush. And you might not see them until you move your light. Your light moves around the bushes. You sense something. And then the glare confirms. The glare confirms. There's also something about Loch Ness Monster. I think this is also part of the mystery of you. And I don't mean, again, it sounds so like, oh, so mysterious. I don't want it to feel ungrounded, but it's because it's embodied. It can't be placed because it's in your cosmic cells of self, embodied in the earthly self. And you might even have, I'm going to say kindly, an issue describing this. And it can be fun. We do it here all the time. It can be fun to kind of palette the words. But it's almost like you're tuned into maybe this cosmic, I don't know why I keep saying it. It's just the vibe that comes through, but insert the vibe that you know if it's more cosmic oriented. And then if it's more consciousness oriented, or the chakras, not so much like if they were clouds and you could just like pick them down, maybe like cotton candy. Anyways, it's very beautiful. Okay, let's get into the shaman's palm. We'll go into the caves and we will flip this as well. In the cave of ice, we have time and space. That cosmic consciousness vibe. This Voyager deck is also very abstract, so I love it. It speaks to that art side of me, and it wanders all right up here. This is, see, there's something in you. Oh my God, I feel like I'm getting really excitable, and I'm also very chilly. Like, is space cold? Is time and space? I would imagine it's chilly. Yes, we'll say it's chilly. When I was saying earlier about like it's been hard, and maybe it has made to feel hard because it's just maybe been some form of constant. It feels like a disruption. Where was I going? That's the feeling of it. Not hard to, give ourselves a little pat, like, yeah, something's been so hard. It's been so sufferable. No, this feels kind of like, I want to say you're a hard, what's that saying? Hard nut to crack. And I don't know that it feels defiant. Maybe it's received that way, but you don't just go along with things because of the wonderful things he does. Some things being, it's like a thank you, melting from the ice ages, but it was always with you. And it's also cold, fresh water that is as old as time and space. One of the earlier elements I just heard as well. And so this energy, wow, maybe a trickster in nature, but again, let's look at the totality of it. The cleverty, the training seems, and maybe just the way you go about things comparatively to others. Again, we're not going to poo-poo them. That's their way. it can seem nonsensical. Okay. But it's curious enough that it gets like, I'm seeing like necks cricking and like weird faces and nonetheless. In the cave of winds of the mind of the swords is the eight of worlds, change. And I think this is what you do. You're kind of like a game changer. You ask questions to spirit, I'm hearing, to your spirit team, to your spirit guides, openly, but still carefully. Like, when you bring a question to your team or guides or a curiosity, I feel like it's not willy-nilly. I don't know why you're so careful or why I'm feeling careful. Okay, thank you. All right. So when you're bringing something to your spirit team, it's an open platform for you to kind of wander through the different consciousness, chakras, energies, feelings, emotions. And while there's a carefulness, it feels more like I'm not going to step forward without asking a question, or if you're asking for support or you're exchanging something without almost like doing some sort of legwork yourself. Does that make sense? Like you've done something, an action already, internal or expressed external. Maybe you picked up a book, you started the lawnmower and it broke down, and you looked at the manual, but now there's a question you have to clarify something. So there's something you're already doing in this training that when you do connect through a curiosity, a clarification, or a contemplation, it's already in flow of something. This is to your credit. If that's not in any way clear, this is to your credit. There is a goat. He's got a billy goat with a little goatee, and he's working with the sacral energy. And I kind of feel like it's orange creamsicle. Like this connection feels like it has flavor, and it's also bringing me in the cave of winds. I'm not really sure what this is. Gorgeous nonetheless, but it's almost like a kind of like a what somebody might think is a ball of fire, and I'm seeing it as it's amber. I also want to note this goat. If a goat means anything to you, the greatness that you be, to Capricorn, where it may be, or the agility of a goat. And this could also be from the coyote to the goat. It's mishmashed with tropical fish. So blend that together, merge them. And it's almost as if this trickster energy is watching a goat, greatest of all time of you, because you've been here and will be in some capacity of all time or an aspect of all time. And this coyote, if it's externalized, even a part of ourself that has been externalized so that we can see it more clearly, says, how are you so great? I would like some great, but they want to take the great. They challenge the great, not because you're, in the wisdom of to be challenged is to become more of, but that's kind of the spirit of it. It's like, if this trickster energy has stepped forward to take, they have actually taught and trained you how to be greater than. And that's very frustrating for this energy. Okay, externalized. Also want to note sometimes in the spirit of, as uncomfortable as it was to say that sometimes you don't help because you're like, this is a distraction to keep me in a repeatable pattern that I already know the answer. I already know. It feels like science. I'm not a science person, but it feels like science, a repeatable result over and over and over and over again. Sure, we could go to insanity, but it kind of doesn't feel that way. I'm being asked to look at the answer. You have it. Something's embodied. That answer is not going to apply to this person, place, or thing or experience. It is not the alchemy of this arithmetic. But they see it in you and they're choosing to go about it in a very distracting way, which if this space is what you're feeling, You don't deal with it. You've already gotten the training. You've embodied it. It's a distraction. Don't do it. Okay. Let's give this a flip. If the portal is, well, there's a spider up there. Sorry. Ooh, this spider is, first thing that popped out at me was a spider, like maybe like a jumping spider, but I feel like it's friendly. Man, I am freezing and you're reading. Cosmos is chilly. Do you know what I think as well? Thank you, spider. It's the web that maybe you work online, maybe there's something about the way you interact online in the concept of WWW, the World Wide Web, but also the web that you weave here, and you're not going to get caught in things anymore. And your jumping spider is very aware of this. The jumping spider is also telling me it's a lot more friendlier than we may think. And I think this is also something, I'm not saying maybe you have arachnophobia, and I'm not trying to press upon that, but in the spirit of the symbology of what's stepping through, it's like jumping hoops sometimes for someone or something. And that's also giving you the same answer over and over and over again. And I just heard those tambourines again from the other side of Yoda, like when sometimes you might hear like the huzzah, the clap, the yay. It's almost like a clear sign from spirit. Cave of Hearth Fires, and the Cave of Hearts, and the Fire of Creation. Okay, so interestingly enough, we have the 5 of Crystals and the 4 of Cups, which is about negativity and anger. I am telling you, this feels, in the heart of hearts, it's almost like a realization that maybe there's someone or something or a part of I, you, we, me of ourselves that realized was like saboteuring ourselves, self-saboteur, or there was some sort of instigator effect, some sort of trickster, cleverty that would get us caught in these. I just heard like, gosh darn, but insert the proper swear words. Gosh darn webs that would get us all frickin' entangled, and maybe we become angry at ourselves, the negative self-talk, and or, as I'm also being careful in all of this, but we've also spoken to it, careful not to express our anger or negativity. Like if you're having a negative experience, like it's like holding it back, and to be like, whatever reason maybe we've told ourselves that's why we're not saying something to this energy, whatever the case is. I'm seeing a sandwich or waffle maker, like something, or like a panini press. It's like pressing something and compressing it down so that it takes up a smaller size and file within ourselves as well. But I do feel, oh, my light just went out. I do feel like this is something that in your heart of hearts, within yourself first, it's like the fire of forgiveness releases this coyote energy, trickster energy. And we can be mad at ourselves that maybe, damn it, we did it again. We fell for it again. Something about your heartstrings. And looking at those heartstrings, what song are those heartstrings playing? And this is where the student becomes the teacher, I just heard, within you, because you've been learning from the coyote training. And maybe if you haven't already, you're starting to teach other aspects of yourself how to embody that, remember in the moment. Yeah. Okay. I'm down here. I'm seeing like an old-fashioned comic. If you ever used to read the newspapers and the comic strips, I'm seeing a comic strip. In the Cave of Rivers, Cups, water emotions is Two of Cups. Look at how lovely that is. Something about a pine cone, and it's like right in here. I feel suave. I feel like there's a celebration. Carnations, if that symbol means anything to you. Solar energy and lunar energy merging and meshing. It's almost like a peak where I can see hot and cold water coming together, but also appreciating their separateness and their systems of such to have really cold water and really hot water. So enjoying and appreciating that individuation, but then also the ability to tweak to create one stream, which in some way is probably your consciousness, chakras, energies that you're tapped into, and the greatness that you're always being, but you enhance and contract, and yeah, it feels good. Feels celebratory. I also want to note, it looks like there's these knees. The arms are out to the side. I don't know what kind of dance it is, but I feel like in the easiest way, I'm going to say like in the Russian, I think it's Russian. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Like when they bend down low and then they kick out their feet, maybe it could also be like opa, like a Greece or Grek. I don't know. There's something about getting low, kicking out, getting low, kicking out. Again, I'm in a dance. I feel it's all very celebratory, and there's these carnations and there's pine cones that just represent that's part of the harvest I just heard, which that cone, given conditions, has more seeds in it for you. All right. Something is fading away. Excuse me. In the cave of earth is lovers. This Two of Cups, I'm going to say it's the lunar and solar of self over here with the time, space, and harmonizing everything together. Sage of Crystals is on the bottom. The celebration of people, places, or things coming together. I also heard a celebration of somebody creating their own web of the way you work and seeing it from this bird's eye view. Interesting. This energy that is dissipating, it sounds gross, but it's the way I heard it. It's like a tapeworm or a parasite that's the environment's just not suitable for it enough. That doesn't mean to say maybe in the future, different examples of ourselves or this energy may step forward, but nonetheless, it is whatever this one thing is. And last but not least, I feel something like when two pieces come together, also something about the jaws of life. When two pieces come together, like the lovers here, but if they just fit, it just fits. Yeah. And I want to start with you. It's also something about a landing pad, a tree house, waterworks, and copper. All right. Closing out messages. On the bottom, we have on target. And your three magical cards. Felix Felicius. I can never pronounce that. A powerful symbol to create luck and serendipitous events. See how there's the star in there and then the two arrows, and I'm seeing that right in here. And it's almost like these two moon cycles, I'm going to say, is the tambourines. You also have triple spiral, listening to divine wisdom and joyfully learning life's lessons. Yep. I hear that song. Joy, pump it up, and pain. Keep it going now. Sunshine and rain. Give it to me, raw bass. And then insight. Open the third eye to strengthen your intuition. There's also that sun and the lunar alike. Yeah, maybe this is even the eye, like the shape of this eye in the center, right there. Because I think you've had to squint sometimes, squint to see this energy of ourselves or externally. Maybe even sometimes squint to see spirit, squint to understand. Again, I feel like I'm making all these weird faces, or maybe you're just animated, and that's okay too. You know, there is maybe something you're understanding about yourself that in the stoicness of it all, you can still have a smile and be stoic. You can still laugh like the laughing Buddha belly and be stoic. And maybe there's just different compartments at different times. And the parts of you that do things can maybe some more privately or unseen. But again, it's sensed because it's embodied. And so it's almost like, oh, maybe you're just like, yeah, I'm here for a good time. And then someone else is like, something's different. Something's different. They can sniff it on you. Let them smell your pheromones of the cosmic time and space of the coyote, because you are, and you might even now have embodied being the coyote or the coyotes. Not, not to be tricky about it, but that's kind of like the trick is, and now you're the teacher of such. All right. I'm going to let you go. I hope this did serve, inspire, educate, or entertain. I will see you next week for our weekly pick a card reading. You can check out House of Scrying in between if you'd like a few little scry stories as I like shift my seat. You can join my mailing list. It's free. You can stay up on the blog and the podcast and whatever else is coming up. And also join the inner circle if you want to have a voice in some of our areas. So until next time, bye. Welcome to number 2, Loki. Take it in. Linger in the liminal space that feels like Loki. And I don't have any charged knowings or automatic, so I'm just going to explore accordingly, but always feel well to comment below what you know, what you see, sense, or feel, and share the information versus, maybe, okay, so interesting. So stepping right in, this feels like a boundary basher. And it's kind of like in the words that I was just speaking about. There's a difference between sharing information, exchanging information, having conversations. And then there's also space here of like different types of teaching I'm seeing. So maybe like lecturing, or I don't know, I feel more classroom style. Lecturing feels more, distant. It's not a conversation. So, but those are known ahead of time. Those are, you're stepping in directly, or others have stepped directly to you, or energies that you're working with. It's known. This is a lecture. This is a club. This is a conversation. This is whatever the case is. This energy over here, as I was stepping forward, so I'm almost like, be careful with it, is like, I just want to tell you, and you will accept that. But it's under the weird thing about it. So it's kind of like lecturing, everyone can have their ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bas, but it's under the guise, which makes it confusing, under a conversation or a classroom setting to coalesce and collaborate. That's what makes it confusing. That's what makes it weird. It's not the fact that maybe someone has tried or does, or a part of ourselves says, this is the way it is, and I'm going to bash this boundary in until you see it my way, or until you accept it. It's almost like, well, it's fine. I would have just accepted if this is a part of whatever you're saying. But my issue, or your issue, if you're here resonating, is you sold it or said it or claimed it or led in with a completely different system. And you're like, now it feels like a weird slithery slide in. And that's what's weird about it. That's what's creepy. That's what makes it feel very untruthful. Yeah. It's just how it feels. Because in this space, what I'm actually now, as it's turning on me, is seeing this whole being step forward as when this is noticed, if this is something you've noticed in someone or a part of yourself, is it a conversation, or is it I'm telling, I'm depicting, you're taking the notes, so when something doesn't make sense in this trickster energy, someone's like, there's a mishmash. It's almost like this whole Loki guardian comes in and is like, and what's that game? I don't have headbands. It's like suddenly headbands. You're playing headbands, and it feels like head games, heart games. It's not Mad Libs, but it's almost like then one's own Loki comes in and says, hold on. This isn't making sense. And it feels like a guardian now. That's how I'm sensing it in this aspect, because something ain't making sense, and it's trying to push boundaries for the benefit that goes one way, and the sacrifice feels like the IUE me over here, like just in this exchange of it, not as the be all end all. So if this is a trickster energy that you've been dealing with in one aspect, I almost want to say, okay, then my own Loki will come up and be like, hold on, talk to the hand, because something's not lining up. And it also feels like a Loki energy might arise, or an energy, trickster energy that you've recently are working through, have completed, and are coming down with, that tried to press your boundaries or break them down for their access. Again, it all feels like odd. Like, I don't know. It's like you get it, but it feels like something psychological about it. Yeah. Anyway, so maybe in the spirit of, it's like, even of our own self, thank you, I'll step in differently. I'm seeing, I think they're big ears, but the ears and also eyes, it's like the wolf in Red Riding Hood. Oh, grandma, what large eyes you have. Oh, grandma, what large ears you have. It's not grandma. It's not grandma. There also could be somebody that's working with entities more specifically, that are, and just as a side note, pick and flick if it's not for you, somebody might think that they're working with a spirit that says this is who they are, or is giving, but they're not. Maybe this could also be something that you recognize in others. Not as a thing to lecture or say necessarily, as, oh, you are not. The information's for you and your wisdom, for your ways. There are Lego blocks here. There's also a crypt. Yeah, it's a crypt. Is that the right word? No, it's not a crypt, like a building. Those little buildings, beautiful as they are in graveyards and cemeteries. It's when they're just like above ground tombs. So it's not underground, it's above ground tomb. Yeah. Something about cement blocks on the feet. If you've been feeling stuck lately, it may be because of an energy stepping forward. I just heard, and that's cute, low key, like you've been staying low key. You're like, I'm just going to like take a step back for a second here. And I just, take a nice big inhale here. And like, I'm going to go low key for a little bit. Yeah. Because you're listening to something else. And I mean this in a good way. Your higher self, your intuition, to your Loki energy or entity stepping forward, if you're working with it, to be like, can you help reveal to me what it is that may be trying to break down some boundaries? There's some sort of distinction. Find it if it resonates. Boundaries and barriers. Because somewhere along the lines, I feel like there's an energy here that you've already dealt with, that there's a boundary with, and they just cannot accept it. That means there's maybe a part of themselves that they just cannot accept. Maybe there's privilege, entitlement, a hunger. It feels like a craving. This is a little creepy, but it feels like a craving. And you try to eat everything else around it to suffice it, but until you just have the hamburger, this is what this energy feels like. For some reason or another, you're the craving. It's so exhausting, but nonetheless, there it is. But again, we can relate. We can, okay. Does that mean that you're the only, but then I'm seeing the Hamburglar, from, which I can't remember from McDonald's, but when I was a kid in like the Grimace, this weird like circus family, nothing against McDonald's characters from when we were growing up, very fun, but seeing them like the Hamburglar and they just wanted, just take, I don't know, they're like a burglar of boundaries and barriers, and have, the word is no respect. That's icky. Okay, there's a lot of chitter chatter here. There's also just a lot of information that feels hidden. It's like someone or something, if this energy, trickster energy, is around you, they're trying to be stealth. They're trying to hide some sort of true intention, kind of like where we started. Oh, this is a club where we get to converse and talk about, and then really it's a lecture. And you're like, dude, like you could have just said it was a lecture, but would it have changed your mind? Would you have not have come? Probably not. And that's why they lie. It's weird. It's creepy. Cement boots or cement blocks on the feet. There's also black swans up here, and I want to mishmash swans with snail bodies. Swan of a neck, snail, the spiral being the focus, not the speed. The cornerstone up here. Interesting. Okay, we'll take it. So in the cave, we're going to go through the shaman's caves. In the cave of ice, you see that eye up there? You know, I'm going to read art first. I want to place it right there. I'm going to move through. Oh, this is also a crystal. I wonder if it's a crystal cornerstone. Pyramidium. And I want to place it right there. It also looks like a shark tooth, if that symbol means anything to you. And it's also reminding me of that candy from when I was a kid, Halloween time. Candy corn. Which is leading me to corn. Whether what the science is, it's not my concern. Something is just not digestible. Whether this is energy, again, outside of you, personal, professional, corporate, creative, romantic, platonic, place it where it fits, or simply allowing it to be felt in the ethereal realms of formlessness and to experience it there before, when you come in back into the linearity to see where it is. I also am seeing a construction zone, and place it where you are. Like, so if you're construction, congratulations, or building, but I'm seeing like a structure that once was, let's call it your boundaries in the space that we're at, or blueprints, whatever it is. And now there's an audience. Sorry, let me get this out of my face. There's an audience, witnesses, whatever the case is. And they check in every so often, whether you know or not. And suddenly that building, that structure, the boundary of a home or something is gone, or it's demolished. They might think for a moment success if they've tried to do some wicked ways, whatever their thing is. But I hear now, like, you're talking to the architects and the engineers and the decorators and the tile people, away from prying eyes and the blueprint, the directions. I just heard directions in which things will be placed are changing. And that will now, from whatever this point is that you're receiving this, will not be known by this energy. I don't think in every way if anything needs to be that dramatic. That's not what I'm talking about. But in this specific scenario, and if the message is for one, thank you for holding space, even apply it in the energy realms of reconfiguring, meeting with your architect, archetype, or spirit team, whatever the case is, including your Loki, because they're like, this energy feels very skilled in security. It's like somebody who has the same attributes becoming a cop or a criminal. They hold some of the same things. They just choose different directions to maybe express it, to challenge the boundaries, to create chaos and transformation, but in their own ways, right? So it's almost like you're even getting this, okay? Get your locks changed, if that could be a very simple thing. If it helps eat, anyway, you get the gist. Okay. Whew, whew. Somebody's butt hurt that they're being told to go. It feels like a scolding. If this has been you in your own history that you're looking past that, compassion, work through that memory. In the cave of winds, swords. Okay, well, there's a whole slew that came out here. We'll take them all. The spectrum and two others. I'll get to them in a minute. Spectrum, duet, collaboration, and be not afraid. Thank you. Do you see the structure here? This energy, this bird. Also, I'm seeing the best friend from the show Rick and Morty of the scientist. The best friend is the Birdman. And we've also talked about that swan, the feathers, dream catchers, something else about dream weavers. Do not be afraid to move forward. You have a Loki on your side too of all of this. So check in with that maybe security space. In the spectrum of duet of collaboration of your mind and your heart, your mind, body, soul, your head, whatever the case is. I'm also in this moment seeing somebody being in a dream where like we want to run really, really fast. Maybe we want to get away from something, but sometimes in those dreams, it's like, I want to move so fast, but it's right. There's something like that kind of feeling. Could also be sleep paralysis, but it's a dance. It is a dance, and there's something there for you to strengthen. I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself. But please don't just say that. I'm not accuse of such. I just think sometimes you're like, I don't believe in myself, and I'm going to call it at some point bullshit. You're like, no, that now we're just saying it to say it because maybe really what we want is help. Maybe we really want is some support. And so it's like, no, I don't believe in myself. You do. You're just believing the bull, the pity party. If you're like, oh my God, if you're in a pity party, I get it. We all have our moments. Definitely. Absolutely. But this feels like from the Loki spirit, it's kind of like, okay, Loki, take care of it. But I'm not going to believe the bull. And this comes out in the other way as well, because this feels like a whole spectrum is essentially you do believe, you just are believing what feels more comfortable, less trying, or feels like it's asking less. Again, if this isn't you personally, you're like, screw you stuff, this could be an energy that's trying to get that of you. They want support. They need help. They But do you hear that? I'm not trying to be uncompassionate to this energy, but all I'm hearing is need, want. It's outside of me. Like, do I sound like complete D-baggy? Be not afraid, I suppose, sometimes to say, I'm not dancing with this. It's a deliberate dance, and it feels like it just consumes and doesn't create with it. It just feels like a weird more. But I'm like, where's the creation of it? I don't know. It's like helping your friend out or whoever the case is. And then they're going to come back in 2 months or 2 years and be like, in this, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to judge it. It just feels, like it presses upon your boundaries, leaning. Ooh. Okay, let's give it a flip as we wander into the cave of hearth fires. Loki. Do you know what I also am kind of getting this with this cave of ice here? It's like this block. Somebody might feel frozen out from you. I'm going to say good. I even snorted there. Because again, I'm not trying to laugh and being insensitive. This is the risk. This feels like the logical response to this person, place, or thing's action over and over and over again. This is the response. It just is. And now you're frozen out. You can no longer chisel away at the block of ice or your earth energy, your fire energy. It's like they never learned how to make fire. They just come and tap their torch into yours every single time. Because maybe in some way, shape, or form, you've been the cornerstone for them. Maybe it's like the cornerstone of the family. You're the one who, collaborates and connects the celebrations together. And without you, it wouldn't exist. But you, of course, are going to do you. Maybe also somebody here is a party planner. And I love that. Thank you. It's so fun. But there also feels like in the spirit of if somebody didn't coordinate it as a backbone, right? Does it maybe not give everyone else an opportunity to one, step up and say, oh, I didn't realize this was very meaningful. Or two, realize the reality that maybe the collaboration or coming together isn't really, it's forced. And it's going against some grain of spreading out and creating space just as a contemplation through this conversation. And so maybe if we stepped out of that in whatever cornerstone or controlling mechanism that may be, and be like, not in a shade way of being like, well, I'm going to stop doing it and then they're going to see. Well, that just feels like it's being childish and very immature. This feels like a conscious thing to say, okay, I'm going to host these things. And really, if you come, you come. And if you don't, you don't. I'd like for us to gather, but if that's okay too. Or saying, you know what, I'm going to go low key for a little bit. I'm not going to be, you're not going to be afraid to divert your attention into other areas and say, maybe not. It's okay. That's a lot of pressure. The point is, it's a lot of pressure on one person or one aspect, one archetype of the self, when you are an entire spectrum of this. And Loki seems to have this energy, boundaries, barriers, this pushing. There's a whole spectrum of this spirit energy that is stepping forward. And while it may appear to be black, white with some hints of gray, it's you. That you are the channel of the color between that, of the densities of right or wrong, to being nice or kind, what makes us a good daughter, workplace, add titles, and what makes us bad at that. And where do those definitions come from? Where do they agree with others in relation to our contracts or interactions? And where do they disagree? And yes, you can also disagree and still hold a good. Anyway, you get the gist. Loki. Love it. Tetris. This energy feels more complicated than it appears to be as well. Not to zhuzh it up or give it excuses. I'm just acknowledging it feels complex. It's not as simple as black and white, good and bad. You can even add the gray in between. But there's something else. Where's my little stick? I am diving into here. I'm right in about the center space here. The squeeze of this crystal, something is being made. Oh, there's a, is it a strawberry or maybe like a pineapple? Oh, do you know what I also feel like I'm seeing all of a sudden? Excuse me, is a communication coming into focus. Like if it was on a TV screen, slightly staticky, it's a communication. And it's coming into kind of like a crop circle. I know that's not even remotely the right way. But it's in that air. It's in the spirit of that. There's also a shield. There's a fortune cookie. Yeah, there's that boundary right there. Somebody really wants to have access to you and they want it to be a clear connection, as a channel. I don't see them having access to that radio station. That is you. In the cave of hearth fires is consciousness. Look at that art. This is a deck by Matthew Paisoli. I'll put his Instagram below, and then from there you can follow his links to his decks. And I love them because they're very abstract. And you know me, I love that art portal. There's something also about a pirate. Okay, so there is a significant, okay, first of all, something about mushroom heads. It feels indigenous. It's a chief, a guardian chief. I don't know if Loki has any sort of history or such. It's whether it does or doesn't. Something about the power of the mind. Something also is being turned on within you. I think it's part of this communication. So there's one aspect of Loki here that is left, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like, I don't know, this just like troublesome lecturer, but trying to pretend they're gone. It's just not here. I feel like there is maybe if I didn't say so earlier, like a spectrum of this. Like there's like a bunch of different Loki energies. They might have different names. Oh, forgive me if I'm incorrect, but thank you for the language that just carried me there. The Lokata. Oh, that's not the way I think I heard it. I heard it fly by really like an eagle. And I know I'm not saying it right. Lakota? Lakota. I think that's something indigenous. Apologies, I'm not trying to be rude. But it just like flew by. Okay, there's something about a consumption of chaos and it's emanating from a palace, I just heard, okay? A signal that emanates, induces chaos. Now, that's not like its actual code, but there's something about it, whatever the code is of this cornerstone that's emanating something. Oh my gosh. There's like, I'm getting like a headache right up here above my right eye. It, for the majority, can have an effect that feels like chaos, disruption. And you know what's interesting from this disruption, Oive? I kind of want to go back to number one. Who was number one? Coyote. Thank you. Because that kind of had a feel of like a cosmic disruptor. And in that space, you, or if you came from one or going to one afterwards, or you're going to step into number one on a totally different day. But it's like you might also be the cosmic disruptor of some very stifling structures that are being asked to expand, whatever the case is. But then also, because you've gone through it, you've had your, something maybe has happened that disrupted you and shook you to your core, but it afforded an awareness of change that was needed, that you actually wanted. Just maybe we wouldn't consciously choose it because that might feel a little cray-cray. Now, here, it has like the same kind of vibe, but this is more like a chaos conduit. But what that chaos does, go left or right, cop or criminal, is a very blanket example. You know, somebody could be a baker. I'm going to opt in to be the eater of said bakers. Like just, but total appreciation. It's like some people are artists and maybe you create art, but you're actually interacting with buyers or those that appreciate art. Other artists are great for one capacity, nurturing of the space, but not, it's almost like in some ways, those who can't do are the ones who appreciate what you do. And it's like the saying, well, I could bake. Well, obviously. It's not that I can't bake. It's just when you go to a bakery and someone has opted to align with that as a priority of expression and their art form, not to that degree and not to that. I'm so appreciative that they have decided to share this, even though I can go home and bake a muffin, sure. But I can really just relish in the wonderfulness and gratitude and appreciation for somebody having a bakery, deciding that, starting somewhere, how they decided to start that, and then learn the business of it and market it so that they're still standing here. Do you know, did I say that well? Yeah. Loki, where did you take me? Yes, Cave of Rivers. Inner Vision and SEX. You know me, look at the art. There's a bear in there. Cave of Rivers, your cups, the flow, the element of water. Ooh, somebody might hear a whistle if that symbol or sign means anything to you. And I heard on one part it's a creepy poltergeist whistling old man, if you ever watched that movie, down the street. Yeah. You might also be learning to whistle while you work. And so, again, it feels like there's this curiosity, like, why are you whistling while you're working? Chaos is ensuing around you, and oh my goodness. And you're like, it's not mine. And there could be like this voice of, yeah, but you should care. You should. And I just hear, their pain. I don't know. I hear their want to again lecture me. And I'm like, but there's nothing behind it. We didn't, again, it feels like that's fine, but that's not what, it's like somebody saying they're a caregiver. That's a harsh example, and they're a herder. Your inner vision comes from you're feeling this out. There's a woman in here. She has very thick eyebrows. Man, when she looks, like, when some people just have that look, that stare, it's almost kind of like captivating. Something about Pisces as well. If Pisces energy means anything to you. I'm also seeing Woodstock from Charlie Brown and the Peanuts. Okay. And there's a mask here. There's the eyes. It's very decorative. There's some featherings. Now, I'm not completely wise to it, but it's stepping forward, and it actually touched base in the first one as well, if I remember, but I'm already getting very liminal. To look at the totality of the owl. I think it was a barn owl. This is not a barn owl. It's a whole owl. And yes, owl has its wise meanings. Please follow that. Here, this is looking at it's almost like another kind of symbolic meaning overstamped or used with the owl. It's icky by my judgment, and I will absolutely make that judgment. Yeah. And that maybe that's something in it as well, in the spirit of the time and of the age. Excuse me, not being, again, debaggy, but it's like not being judgmental. That's only one half of the coin, for the openness to have experiences, meet people where they're at, all the kind of good stuff of being no judgments, right? But also flipping that coin, and when you see some, absolutely making your judgments and going, because I feel like in some way, shape, or form, again, I'm trying to be I feel like there's like caution tape, but it's like being judgment free has this chaotic free for all. But I'm struggling in this moment because it's applied to things that I'm sensing, and maybe you would sense in your life, where like, yes, that has its place to have the expressions, but at some point in time, making the judgment, is this good for me? Is this not good for me? How is this feeling? And maybe with this be not afraid of the mind is to be able to say, and with duet and the spectrum of such, and saying it's not so judgment free or open or closed. It is a conversation. It's a duality dance of this, to decide, to make decisions, and to respectfully know for oneself. Because it feels like just being pulled into other consciousness that is chaos, which has its place again for creation. But at some point in time, where have we said that making those judgment calls for ourselves is bad? Or does it get compartmentalized in there? And it's like, well, that's a curious thing. Absolutely. Sometimes being judgmental is a bad thing based on something. But also when you've come to your own conclusion about something and you've made your judgment call, because you're in your wisdom and your connections, your histories, you've made a judgment call. And maybe this other energy is like, but you can't do that because now you're not being judgment free, and you're like, well, no, that's actually not the case. Anyway, I hope that made sense somewhere along the lines. In the cave of earth is the structure of your illusion and Orpheus. Taking the artistry, take it. I'm noticing immediately with these hands here, and it's like trying to look into the window of your soul and trying to figure something out while being, I shit you not, divine madness is on the bottom. I feel like that's like literally where we just stepped into. The madness. Orpheus, if that means anything to you, I'm getting like Sandman vibes. I don't know if Loki has anything to do with Sandman, or if he can, or in the spirit of the mythology, god, goddess, deity. Not really sure, to be honest with you. But in the structure of all of the possibilities, that is a spectrum, and understanding the duet, but being able to strike the chords that emanate like music, that are not held to the adherence of our awareness. It's like hearing, right? We can only hear so many hertz. We can only see so many, I don't know, pixels. I don't know what that thing is. But that doesn't mean all the other things don't exist. We just aren't privy to them. The brain, whatever systems and structures are in place, help to survive. Make those, the eyes or the brain, I don't know, maybe they got to make decisions. This is important. This is important. This is important. And same likewise with our sleep state and our subconscious state. And it's like, it's the spectrum of this sorts. Maybe different things can come through there that we thought we did not see or hear in the waking day to day. And yet our subconscious, don't worry, I got you. Because when we're going to go into the dream state, or whether you do or don't remember your dreams, we're going to work through some things that weren't seen, but you know the structures were there. But you don't have to worry about, because I got you. You had to go to work. You had to make dinner. You had to pick up the kids. You had to go to soccer. I got you. So what seems unseen, even on the surface, and it's not even so much about a pliable illusion of it all, and saying, well, everything is an illusion. It's just, you're trusting your subconscious, trusting those other parts of you are taking it in, and they will communicate. What a beautiful thing. And maybe in some way, shape, or form, your state of consciousness, the ability to be with the inner vision of said spectrums, or the vision of even the ears of how you hear things, the heartstrings, that when things are being guilted, when things are being taken advantage of under the guise of. I also just want to note here in this divine madness, and I'm going to add a few cards before we get ready to go to number 3, but there is like an air of guilt around this, or a sadness or sorrow of trying to prove oneself validity, or value compared to ... So I don't know if there's other pillars that maybe I, you, me have placed, insert a person, place, or thing, that we use as pillars to bounce parts of you, your value, validity, the yetas against. Yeah, that's just the way I see it. I don't, yeah. I almost like want to be like, well, is there a solution to this? I feel like just awareness of knowing that's the characters we've created or connect with for that. Is it for or against? I don't know. I guess you decide, being the cornerstone of this consciousness and not driving yourself mad through it all. Okay, closing out messages. Dragonfly 36, you bring light to this world. Amazeballs. Dragonfly also might mean something to you. I also feel like I'm in a complicated, like Game Boy style. We said Tetris, but it's like a for Robinson hot dogs. Pinball. Lots of bells and whistles. Trink of 5, manifesting money and income. 555, staying alive. I also want to note this just kind of in the spirit of 5. It's like if you could apply 1 5 to chaos, 1 5 to transformation, and another 5 to boundary buster. I don't know, something along those lines. Yeah. I also see a Medal of Honor. Oh. Okay, well, Medal of Honor, and here we go. Achievement, win the award, accolade, or contract. And I will let you know off to the side here, what also came out with it is safe and happy travel, protection from harm when journeying. And just to be clear, maybe you do journey, or in journey, whatever the case is, but this feels like in this consciousness, inception, expression, you are in the journey right now. Going to work, having some food, talking with friends. This is the journey. You may have side quests, maybe with medicine, herbs, medicine men, medicine woman, different archetypes and energies. You are the cornerstone of this entire journey, because this is the journey. And that's a perspective, I think, that's like 3, 5, 10-fold that you have naturally. And maybe that just kind of stands out to folks and maybe just drives them mad. C'est la vie, I just heard. C'est la vie. Que sera. Thank you so much for being here for this week's Pick a Card reading. You can check out all the links below if you want to join the mailing list, join the inner circle, or if you're just like, yeah, I'm good and you're here and I'm grateful for you. You can also check out the House of Scrying in between, because I will see you next Saturday for our Pick a Card. And until then, so much love. Bye. Sacred Clown, come on in. Take it in, close the eyes, take a moment, a nice deep breath, and then pop goes the weasel. Whatever you see, sense, and feel, you're welcome to comment below to enhance the experience, the reading. You can drop an emoji if you don't feel like chatting, but you want to show your support. Like, I love that too. So don't ever feel bad. Don't ever feel like a sad clown. All right, let's step into this trickster energy of the clown, sacred clown or clown, however you relate to it. If you have a clown phobia, I feel you. I just generally don't enjoy people in large costumes like that. I just don't like it. Sus. But I appreciate the sentiment. I don't know exactly. Well, I assume I'm using the right deck for the David Bowie deck. The Sacred Clown has its place. The Fool, like a fool. There are polka dots in here. And it feels important. I do want to note, if this is an energy from a trickster space, just as the inspiration of our reading, but who knows where we'll go. Somebody's trying to go pokeroo style. Like maybe they come in and out of your life. They only call when they need something. And I'm not saying I don't really know exactly what the term, like in the spirit of trickster energy, means, but you know, we can just lean into it very blatantly. I don't know. I feel like if this energy comes in and out of your life, it feels like pokeroo. And if you watch pokeroo, it was very like romper room. It was very fun, if I recall. But in this space, in this energy, it feels like, it feels perturbing. Yeah, it does. I'm seeing a rubber chicken. So maybe there's something comical about it, but it's almost like I feel like it's a trick. Someone maybe makes you laugh, or they come in and out and they're like, oh my God, that's so funny. And they're like, so can I borrow $500? And you're like, oh my God. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it. There's also something about melted butter. I love the random things that step forward. I'm also seeing somebody with, is it like an afro? Yeah, it's like, ooh, there's lots of like bounce in your hair. It doesn't have to be afro, but it's just like bounce in your hair. I'm also seeing somebody who's wearing a baseball cap. They look a little spy-y. Yeah, they look spy-y. Now, this message might be for one. So thank you for holding space. I don't know. It's like somebody going through somebody's garbage, or like, I don't know, they feel really, you know what's interesting about it? I'm trying to get the words to fall in my face. It's like a suspect. And you might suspect something of this energy, of the sacred clown energy, in the one aspect that we're going to travel down, not in the entirety. So if you kick around for later on as it unfolds, this just feels like they're butthurt. They feel maybe they've been made a fool of. I don't know. Maybe check your garbage, or I want to say like basic things. I think it also came up in 2 with Loki, or maybe number 1. I don't know now. Changing the locks, like something simple like that, because it just feels like I don't know. They're harmless in this space, but yet it's almost like they're in their head about some things. They're in their feelings about something. I don't know. Rubber chicken. And I think that they're chicken to actually talk to you about it, because I don't think actually they have access to you. So if you suspect such sussery, yeah, I am seeing it as a masculine energy, or expression at least of masculine energy. And it does feel like about a woman. Like I see them with like a headlamp on almost, or maybe it's just something that they, do you know what I want to say as well? Oh, this is already so awkward. But we're going to walk through it, because it could just be a snippet of the story. And if it's for somebody, I want them to receive it. This energy thinks they're illuminated. This energy thinks that they have enlightenment. More like an illumination. And I feel like they are scouring your external environment. In environments, maybe it's just online. Maybe, it was that incognito, or they like change something. I feel like they're putting a lot of effort in, but it's like it's been slow going, because it's almost like they would know, or there's things, especially if it's their energy too. I don't know how skilled or where this is exactly placed, but I was seeing it more physical environment, mostly at night. So one would be asleep, so they could like go through the garbage. Again, it would be for like gross things, but just nonetheless. And then maybe like that online space, so where it fits. If it's compiling, you would know. And then there's like an energetic way, right, where you might sense this energy crossing the thresholds of it feels foolish, because it's like every single time they do something, no matter how minute or stealthy they think they're being, it leaves a signature and compiles, and and they actually, if not have already, given themselves away. And then you put the practices in. Burp, 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 burp. Okay, yeah. Because I'm also seeing, in the most loving way, it's the ice cream man from the show. I feel like it was a video game. I watched it with my husband. It was very good. Like, they all drive cars, and there's like the ice cream truck guy. Does he have like fire hair? So maybe something about a redhead or red hair. I'm also seeing Hakati when I step into that, not necessarily as in the space of like this kind of like crazy clown that I'm seeing, but could also be crazy clowns. If you remember that show name, please tell me. Please remind me. Please fuck the mind. I do see something being born. I heard goo goo gaga, like goo goo gaga. Congratulations if you're preggers, have a baby. And they're like, and I heard they're like a mini version of you. And I feel like that's a fun thing. And then also if there's parts of your personality, you might be like, oi, I don't know. Here it comes. Here it comes. There is also mantid-like energy here. Someone or an emotional, energetic, emotional energy within oneself. You know, you don't have to be full of emotions or anything like that. It's just the emotional body is a composer. And I'm seeing like one of those busts of like Beethoven or something as a composer. Something about keeping composure, and absolutely keep your composure in a very specific situation because it will be helpful for you in the future. More so is also right now, but it seems like more so for the future. If you're trying to explain something to those outside of the situation that are not emotionally invested. So we're looking for facts, but take note of your feelings because trust your feelings when to note, look, or check something out because they will lead you to the facts. Does that make sense? Okay. Whew, that was a lot. All right. So this ice cream, creepy ice cream clown, killer clown. I do feel there's like more of this Hecate feeling. There's this feminine vibe up here. And I want to like just say like in this sweet moment, seeing the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland and Hecate like getting together, and it just like this whole kingdom becomes more than it ever could be. And it feels really, really amazing. And that's kind of bringing me into the sacred fool space of it all, of this beginningness. Why am I over here? Yeah, because it's like, holy moly. Holy moly. Why is it like that? Why is this the holy moly? It just has this curiosity, almost like you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening. Also, in the spirit of the trickster energy, it's like you can't say things directly to them. So you might even be, I heard stifling, but it feels conscious, not as a, it might feel sufferable sometimes, but it's very conscious. It's strategic. And it's almost like you're like, oh yeah, but you know, you're talking to your bestie over here and you're like, this is absolutely, completely, no, absolutely not. But respectfully, we'll stay or give whatever the case is. But something is about, I want to know though, there is this, thank you, Hecate with our sacred clown here that feels very Mad Hattery just in this moment. And maybe that is reflective of a relationship that was person, place, or thing, romantic, platonic, corporate, creative. You get all the gist. A paradox partnership. And there could be some propulsion. I just heard some propulsion about paradoxes, seeing the or attracted to the paradox, whether it's a problem to be solved or as a peculiarity or as just simply an interest that we keep poking at a scab to see how far it has healed. Something about that. But the paradox in this moment anyway, in the spirit of the sacred clown, feels like a performance. Something feels like a performance. But you know what? I also want to say, it's like, as I wondered, as soon as I said that, and okay, we, you know, if you get it, you get it. And then when I was seeing like Hecate and the Mad Hatter, now maybe they're not marrying each other or anything like that, but they're having a conversation for one reason or another. And it's a curious conversation because I don't know that any of the onlookers or those weird things that are trying to watch could even understand the language because it's a paradox. And it's something about the punctuation when people have like their own language, and yet, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Holy, I'm getting confused even trying to express listening to it. But again, they're speaking very clearly and bluntly to each other in the best way possible. But it's confusing to somebody that's keeping an eye on you, or somebody that's observing you in this energy, because they see your beginning. They see that you have, or have started wherever you are in the spirit of this, and will continue to purify paradoxes, not because they're a problem, but I think they're just part of the dance. And you're like, okay, this is not problematic when you come up to or meet or whatever the case is. And so there might be this energy that seems to inflict, I'm seeing it like a push pin for one reason or another, in your new beginning, in your want of a new beginning, in your established new beginning. It does feel recent, like 1 to 5 years. I was going to say 135. So there you go. Okay. Even to 1 to 3, 5 days, whatever the case is. And they are trying to apply, again, because they're observing you, like some sort of foolishness to it. It's their feeling. And they're trying to like stamp it. It's like they're trying to look like a happy clown, but they're really a sad clown. And in other cases, they're really a killer clown, but they're trying to be friendly. And I feel like this has been energies that you've been interacting with or have interacted with. So it's not your first rodeo, I just heard. It's not your first rodeo. Okay. Not your first rodeo. Is there a clown rodeo? I feel like that could be a thing. I love it. There's a mothering vibe here. There's also just clearly in the spirit of juggling. Cave of Ice. 10 of Pence. This is that juggling. You might be juggling a lot in general. Lots of spinning plates. There could also be lots of different versions of you, lots of different beginnings, endings. Like paradox plates in the air, and you're spinning lots of them. You might choose at some point in time just to release some of them and realize maybe where you are performing and you're like, you know what, I tried and I'm good. You're like, and I think even nowadays when people, or at least it seems to be a popular concept, is, authenticity. And that's great. And some people will say, well, performance and authenticity, sometimes performing is somebody expressing their authenticity. And you might have these plates in the air, maybe to be a lot of titles, to be in a lot of positions with people, places, or things. And then the brilliance of doing all of these, performing these tasks, labels, titles, and you're like, hold on a minute. You authentically try, because maybe you're authentically an archetypal builder, and you're driven to dive into these things and experience them to the best of your ability in the time frame maybe that they'll have with you fully, and then you can let it go. And then you're like, you know what? I don't need all of these plates going. And maybe you just put some down. And I got to say, it just feels like on this lurking on the outside, other people or things have, maybe they tried to test you. So like they'll put things on your plate, or you might even be like right now, be like, what? Like, what am I doing with 10 plates? Because other people, it feels like a test. And they're like, yeah, but can you do 11 plates? It just feels, I don't know, it feels weird. It feels like in your 10 of pence, that you've got everything under control. What you decide to pick up and put down is you just authentically having an awareness of possibilities. And if they become tied up in a paradox, that in this moment anyway, lots of paradoxy words here. The paradox isn't a problem. It's almost like you play with them. And maybe that's just very perturbing for somebody. Or somebody in your past anyway. They feel like somebody that you've known much longer than maybe they have been here relative to your recentness. Does that make sense? So maybe they're like somebody that has popped up from your past because of your 10 of pence, and it's like, oh, look how great you're doing, and suddenly like pop up out of nowhere. Again, I'm not trying to, this is too many, don't be ridiculous. Well, it is Prince of Cups. Oh, damn it, we're gonna take it. I knew I was supposed to listen. Cave of Winds of the Swords is the Moon, the Tower, and the Prince of Cups. And speaking of that energy, it's like, oh, give me some of that. Give me some of that. That's not always a bad thing. But I'll just tell you, in this energy of whoever this like creepy clown is, they wanted some of yours. And I feel like you knew that from the beginning, but you kind of maybe even gave them the benefit of the doubt. I just heard. That's nice. That's nice. And they blew it. You always knew it somewhere. I don't want to say that because that feels like, I don't want that to sound like they were set up for failure. They legitimately had the chance and the opportunity. And with the Tower here, they just are who they are. And beyond the makeup of the clown or their clothes or their words, they tried to like piggyback on your new beginning. And I kind of want to say, I'm like, that's fucked up. But, and essentially, they did puck up. And back to the past they go. And dare I say, in a Jack in the Box. And that's where they are kind of now in as a role around you, a Jack in the Box. All right, let's flip it. What a wild one. Sacred Clown. Just pressing things. What you see, sense, or feel. Take it in, take it in. I am seeing a really cool conversation happen here. Oh, do you know what's funny? So this is why I'm having a moment. It's like hearing crickets. You know that saying, like when people are like, well, I'm hearing crickets, which I believe implies that there's nothing being said. There's quiet. But I was hearing the sound of crickets. So I'm like, but I hear the crickets. So there's no silence. I can hear the crickets. This is a really cool conversation. It feels fun. The polka dots feel, now here in this space, it kind of feels like if I could put crickets and ladybugs together, or even beetles. So diving in deeper is over. I don't know if it's exactly, I want to say it's almost like a gazelle, maybe a goat. Somebody also has a well and a vastness, if this is you, and maybe this is why. Feels like a vastness of life force. Like maple syrup from a tree. Honey from the honeycomb. It is a connection. Thank you. It's a connection. And was it this side or the last side? I can't remember. I apologize. It might be from this reading or number 2, where the Mad Hatter and Hecate were having a conversation and they each have their torch. And that's why this feels fun. I was going to say funner. Feels funner. And it's like getting a sparkler when you're a kid and you could write. This is how the conversation feels. And like really what's in the background is crickets, nature singing its song. The conversation, maybe if any, could maybe be telepathic, but maybe just simply you don't have to say anything with this person all the time. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. When you do talk, you great. It's great. And when maybe you're in person, it's great. But it's like you're not always in person. Sometimes you talk on the phone. Sometimes you have a video chat. In this space, it's like being in this garden. Maybe it's in a different kind of landscape that I'm trying to, maybe it's in the moonlight of the subconscious space. Yeah, I will get to you in just a moment. I see you there. I'll pop you in so I remember. But there's still connection being nurtured and had. It feels a lot of fun. It feels like there's actually no pressure. Feels like play. And so I'm really happy for you for that. Because I think you've taken yourself very seriously, sometimes to a degree that, in just as a reflection of how I'm feeling, to a stifling degree, just from my perspective. But you've done great things with it. You've made a new wonder of the world, and somebody else has seen that. Or I'm sure there's others, but there's one kind of trickster energy that lurks around that's like, you're their wonder of the world. Like, I wonder why it didn't work out, and yet their actions were blatantly gross. I wonder why. Like, I can't believe that they would think this of me. I was always so kind, and yet their makeup, and I'm just using that as an expression, was happy clown, but they were killer clown. And anyway, so they wonder, but you don't wonder. Okay. Down here, right there. So I can see like these 2 flags, and they're like white flags. So there could be something that you as well have surrendered to. One side, I want to say spirit, and the other side, I want to say soul. So soul and spirit. And it's like, though that could even be this conversation up here, to be honest with you. Your soul and spirit, you and your spirit guides, your spirit team, God, goddess, deity that you work with. Here it is. You also could be calling in the sacred clown energy. Want to note that in there too, because while yes, it's here as a trickster energy, but let's look at the totality of that sometimes we have to trick ourselves into having new experiences, starting anew, starting afresh. And sometimes we'll use, it's like reverse psychology to get ourselves to begin again, to remember we have the strength to start here. So I love that. But nonetheless, there is a person here, and I was seeing them stand on like what would the top of a rosebud, if a rosebud means anything to you. But I would originally saw it as like a rock, and it's like if everything had fallen away. More easily depicted, I suppose, on an iceberg, but I am seeing it as land, and it's like this is all I'm left with. But what is left with felt like this tower moment, like it's right here. And really, this was the beginning of standing there. So whatever change or trauma, something had happened, and what you did with it and worked through the down and dirties of it, and not taken all the baits either, for whatever that means for you. And you're like, you know what? Okay, well, if this is what my starting point, you're like, okay, then, and just like Maestro, get ready. They just need that one spot. And it's like looking out at the world like a video gamer might see cells or pixels and be like, and let's go. Yeah, feels good. When I was trying to figure out something before too, I think it was a C clamp. I couldn't see what it was, but I think it was a C clamp. I am seeing like chakras or energy as more of a farm. Yeah, just feels like a farm. I am seeing ants. If the ants mean anything to you, please follow that. Something about your piggy bank, but we also have the 10 of cups here, or the 10 of pence, but I am seeing a piggy bank. Cave of hearth fires is 5 of cups. See, this is what I think has been watered down. I think there's been people, places, I shouldn't say I think I saw that. I don't know what it was, but I saw it. I think there's been people, places, or things around you, trickster kind of energies that have made you feel weepy for their woes, to prioritize their wellness, their wonderments, their worlds. Princess of Cups is now on the bottom. And I kind of feel like maybe you just, maybe it was when you were young, or maybe you're in a position, whatever the case is. And you know what? Maybe there are things that you felt left out of, maybe even conversations you felt left out of, for choice, for sovereignty, for strength of such. And maybe for a long time, and whatever a long time might mean to you, because every time I say that, I feel like a long time could be like 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. But then, you know, if somebody's in a ring boxing and it's like, or wrestling, it's like the last 3 seconds or 5 seconds can feel like a lifetime. I don't, you know, again. And then also looking at the space of this entire lifetime, whether in our existence of being here and now is 5, 10, 15, 50, 500 years, really in another scope of it all. I don't know if that's long or short or what. Anyway, you get the gist. Maybe you felt left out, and for a long time, that change within your mind said, hold on, because you just had to take it, or you decided to, for one reason or another, like, I'm just going to take this for what it is. And really, maybe the importance of it, of being left out of these things, or feeling whatever sort of lack of, in one regard, okay, one rabbit hole, it was to your benefit. I know it didn't feel like that at the time, but it would have got you tangled up in way worse things that would be not great. Okay. So then I want to step into the other space of it to say, I understand the weep of when you had to cry alone, when you were not heard, when you were not part of conversations or felt like you had a voice in the conversation with creation. And sitting on this little edge of the world felt like isolation, an island, desolate. And with this feeling of, whether you felt it at oneself or projected out, the feeling I feel in that case of like a self-inflicted punishment, at least how I'm receiving it, is, how dare you want more than that one polka dot? How it feels like a punishment, if it's like saying, like, how can you want better than your parents or your friend, whatever the case is, pick whoever it is. And this just feels like this paradox of sorts has been pressed and pressed, maybe through guilt, maybe through making you feel bad for wanting a life that is filled with you having 10 pence plates. And because maybe your ability to be who you are in whatever dynamic to this other person, to parts of you, because it would challenge it to say, oh yeah, that's right, there is more. It's going to create change. And then from that little point there, even though it's scary, we start to stand up, we balance ourselves and we stand up on it and say, okay, it's windy. It's like being on Survivor and like doing one of those balancing tests. And it's like, well, fine, but at least I'm going to try and I'm going to strengthen like the tree in the wind, but I'm still going to orchestrate and I'm going to try. Holy moly. Holy moly. I have no idea if I'm doing you justice in this reading, but I will say I feel it very passionately, and it feels as though there's like so many of this. I think it was in number 2, there was a spectrum and of this as well. It's like we're not tricking ourselves anymore. And if we are, we're using it like positive or reverse psychology for the breakthroughs. Holy moly, also this is a lot. I also want to note I think you've also cried tears for people that really have just tried to work you. I just there's a lot there in the heart space. Princess of Wands. It does feel like just even like this belt rings off like music. Thank you. I just needed a little something to add to that, to kind of express that, yes, I can sense the weep and wonder of, dare I even say, who am I, when everyone else maybe, or parts of ourselves, have just carved and carved and carved away, to feel so alone. And you maybe even surrendered to that and said, you know what, then I'm not going to fight it. It's suddenly, I'm seeing that like a sailboat that no longer fights the wind and lifts the sail and uses it to go off to your... It's always been held fresh for you. Your 10 of Pentacles has always been on the warmer, or not frozen away from you, but it's always been kept fresh. Always kept fresh for you. Okay. In the Cave of Rivers, in your cups and your waters, is the Devil and Princess of Swords. This is that whole world, working with you. I think that you also recognize the devil in the details. And I'm utilizing the devil like almost like a superhero, to be like crossing I's, dotting T's. Did I say that right? Dotting I's, crossing T's. I'm also saying, I've never seen it, but I'm seeing the movie or the character Daredevil. Again, I'm not really sure what it means. And then the other one, he's the funny one, wears the red suit. I have seen this one. He's like super comical. He's like a comic book guy, or a movie anyway. Oh, I can't remember these linear things now, but hilarious. Just, different way of going about it, I suppose. I also feel like you've dealt with some vigilantes. For one reason or another, they have made you their scapegoat. They have made you their focus, the reason. But I just want to say it's not actually the case, but it's also, I want to acknowledge what you've had to possibly endure and educate yourself about, and also entertain yourself to work through those energies, because there's some entanglement for a reason, and you recognized maybe not what makes sense, but you recognize the reason in a bigger scope of reality as you're creating your worlds. Yeah. I'm also seeing a harmonica and one of those xylophone things back in that cave of hearth fires that has taken, and it's like the tragic muse, like musicians and such, that can turn the turmoil or turn the emotional energy body into a moving masterpiece, into an art piece. And it doesn't have to be famous. You don't even have to, it's about that composer kind of maestro thing again. Or maybe the maestro leads what was composed, right? And then the orchestra. So all of these, the composer, the maestro, and the performance of the orchestra, you might relate to one of those areas more specifically, or all of them in some capacity. But it feels like there's an understanding of that, of this, how it's juggled and how it moves. It's not about being a famous composer or a popular maestro or the favorite orchestra. It's almost like those terms, and I'm not trying to put, if you're working towards a certain level that you would speak of famous or popular, like, good, don't dumb them down on my behalf. Just here in the space of spirit, between soul and spirit, the composer, the maestro, and the orchestra are and always in a state of best and worst alike, I suppose, because again, there's this paradox that is not a problem here. The composer is potentially resting while viewing the orchestra and the maestro. We're not going to poo-poo the composer. The maestro may not be there when over the composer's shoulder saying, well, this is what I would like to maestro. But maybe they do converse. Maybe they have coffee. Maybe they meet for dinners. Maybe they are very intertwined and nobody knows. And they think, wow, how does that composer so naturally extend and guide the orchestra of this composition? And it's like, because really, they are quite intertwined in this. That detail has been discovered. And the whole orchestra composed of so many more plates and paradoxes that could possibly be. And yet this whole thing feels beautifully entangled. And none of those words, famous, popular, infamous, etc., understandably, they have their place. But in this moment, all I can see is the respect and the accolade and the amazement that is felt by others, maybe, or you're just appreciate of yourself when they come into your aura. And maybe byproducts become words, popular, famous, etc. Those might be byproducts, but they don't seem to be a focus. I am in the presence of such. I love it. Let's get ready to close up this message. Cape of Earth. Is there anything else in the ink that would like to speak? I feel like you might be in a grazing stage right now, taking things, getting your graze on. I don't know, maybe there's something about gray aliens as well. I don't know. All right. On the bottom, we have the Four of Swords. I just heard damn right. Good boundaries. Damn right. Queen of Wands in the Cave of Earth. Yep. Meaning business. There's that sunflower up here with that conversation. What came out with it off to the side here? Five. Okay, so interesting. Five of Pentacles and the Hierophant. So these came out flying out off to the side. These are like, do you know what this feels like? Because there's the Five of Cups and the Five of Pentacles, which makes sense why they're both like coming through at that time. Earth might feel at some time in general for you like it's changing, right? It's changing. What was once luxury could become your lack, and or what was once a lack of, you now have the luxury of that. You have the polarity through this energy. And if maybe someone or something has tried to make you feel bad about that, rude, that you have been able to turn lack into luxury. Because they maybe, or a part of you, psyche or otherwise, follow your stories, because your stories will reveal the characters, the lines and lineages, and whatever has tried very hard, or maybe has like now makes you feel bad, like killer clown style, like, but you weren't supposed to do that. You were supposed to give up. You didn't. You made change. Like I see like somebody like $20 and you're like, hey, can you just make that change, please? Because like, I don't do my laundry, I'm gonna wash my car, and I'd like some change for the tolls. You made change and you were able to do a lot with that. So good for you. And now you are, I think, also part of this natural guidance system for others. Not just those that feel like, oh, I want that too, that others feel that like superhero within, that daredevil, or damn it, what's that other guy's name? I feel like I always like, or it's more common that I start coughing probably because I've been talking a lot, but also sometimes like I find that through the pick of cards, like just moving through them, like we slowly open or deepen or we go off. So by the time I get to the third one, it's just like the energy's differently open and I can never quite predict it. Very interesting though. Anyway, nonetheless, and the Hierophant, the stifling structures of what has tried. Again, keep an eye out. There is someone sus, or there's an energy of this clowning around that feels Snoopy, not Snoopy like Charlie Brown, Snoopy. And I think sometimes you let these energies snoop around because you get to observe them as well. So you get to observe these signatures, you get to observe their behaviors, because you know sometimes it's like a dog seeing somebody, they're just checking them out. So you let them just check you out, which, you know, feels like a lot of grace. Again, holy moly macaroni. You have been able to, and if this is a process that you're in, there's something about a massive turnaround. There's a massive turnaround. And I want to say congratulations for that, because this feels like maybe you've been mocked or tried and, you know, and it's been hard, very trying on your entire systems, all your systems with the Hierophants. And maybe you have come from lack of money or love, confidence, whatever the case is. But damn, you did good and you're doing good. Give yourself some credit. You know, we may not all have, you know, $1 million in the bank, but damn it, having $100 sometimes is the richest thing in the world. To be like, you know what? Oh my gosh, I can go and get the bread and the milk and the eggs, and here's the cash. Like that. Like, don't take away those things. You know what I mean? Like just being able to go and afford the things that you need when you need them. Because maybe that wasn't what it was like for you for a long time, or when you were a kid or growing up. And that's not to shame or poo-poo the parents. Those were the conditions. And you did great things with them. And now you can afford your milk, eggs, and bread. If you're out here in Canada, milk, eggs, and bread would be like a lot of money. It's ridiculous. But anyway, you get the gist. So Queen of Wands, you got to work. This is very, I keep hearing like, I think it's the Rocket Man. I think it's Rocket Man song. So I'll leave that with you. Okay, let's add on a few magical oracle cards and then I'll let you go. Oh my gosh. Sacred clown, sacred clown. Is there anything else? I just heard the term beggars can't be choosers. Now, whether or not that's true or not, you know what I mean? It's just the saying, but as the saying goes, you don't beg. I'm not saying that it doesn't feel like you don't want or think or pray, whatever the case is, but I feel like there's slight distinctions. I'm not privy to them at this moment. You're a chooser, not a beggar. And you also notice when there are others, because I'm seeing this like outside of your gates, when they're like begging for your attention and you're like, stand up and choose. Trinket 5, manifesting money and income. Money, money, money. Again, $100 is a lot of money. Maybe what was a lot of money when we were 8 years old, working at our paper routes, $4 was a lot of money. And maybe when you're a young adult, $200 is a lot of money. And maybe when you're older, whatever the case is. So again, it's kind of like in the wordage, like taking a lot out of, like taking the word a lot out. I don't know, you have like this really cool awareness to be like, again, not shunning it. It's just, there's enough. There's enough. Oh, happy love. Joyful, stable partnership and good friends. And this conversation has been here the whole time, which we've talked about, even though, like, we're going to acknowledge there was some sort of joker, some players, jackassery afoot. I want to acknowledge that, wow, this feels like somehow you've tricked yourself into happiness, to feeling love and to feeling luxuries, and again, what the versions of those luxuries are. Wow, money is here and that's amazing. I also want to know that I feel like you're not really like, you're like, yeah, but my $5 socks from Walmart that are fuzzy, like, are just a luxury for my feet. And maybe that just wasn't the case for a while when you needed a new winter jacket. And so I don't want to minimize this as well. I think that you have a scope of a multidimensional nature about a lot of things. And maybe that was trained through a lot of, or just some conditions that, so this is the way I'm just going to blatantly put it. Not good friends, not stable partnerships, not joyful times, not happy love, and not income and not money. And it's like it manifested no money, minimal income, minimal joy. Do you know what I'm saying? And damn it, you did it. Good for you. You took the risk. You continue to take the risks. And any of these other jokers around you, or once was, reindeer games. Last card, happy love, on target. Come on, here we are, 31. You're following your ideal life path. And you know what? On that, move like water, the element of healing and purification. You've been healing and purifying these paradoxes that, to be honest with you, I don't think they were yours to begin with. However, you adopted them. You took them in. You soaked them in like a sponge. Yes, likable or not, you were accountable for that. And you're like, well, now I got to create the squeeze. Okay. And you did it. Damn it, you did it. Congratulations. There is a spirit guide that is more of like an elder that's been with you. What I would say is more like an earth guide, like your birth guide since you've been here on this earth. They know exactly what you've worked towards. They're a masculine energy, like I said, and you have like claimed your kingdom. You have claimed your kingdom, and they're quite proud of you. But I also want to know, it's like, on the other hand, there's been this energy, we'll call it, and I promise I'll let you go, but I feel like I really want to kind of like just say the things to let you know that what I'm feeling about this, because yes, there's accolades and there's amazingness, but I kind of like really want you to feel that I know what you've done to be here, and like just let me be excited for you, okay? And at the same time, not like jump out of my skin about it. So there's also been this other energy that, if you can imagine like the Truman Show or the movie Hackers, and there's always like this figure, this character that like sits in their chair and decides, how things are going to go. Now, I don't think inherently they are one's enemy, friend, or foe, this, that, or the other, but they are a governing presence. And I think, like, if you can imagine a sacred clown and a sacred fool kind of playing a game, and then there's the sacred jester, like there's just so many versions here of this. Maybe you've been here for many lifetimes, and there's just like this, maybe you might feel like this one following energy that finds you in every lifetime. And they're like, They're not supposed to get this far. Actually, what I heard, they're not supposed to get this close. I'm going to stop, but I'm very happy. There is also a feminine energy and spirit that is, she's not someone to mess with. And it's almost like I'm hearing like saying, well, if you said like, we'll meet my mother or something like that. There could be something, maybe it's a mother in spirit for sure. Yeah. So there's at least four. Oh, so four are only like close by. You're the one here, right? If you want to be like right here. And I can see at least four other statues of you of lifetimes that might be in like different poses that are a stamp of remembering something. And then behind those is many, many, many more. Okay. I will see you next week for a weekly pick a card reading. Thank you so, so much for being here. I hope this is serve, inspire, educate, or entertain. You can check out House of Scrying in Between, of course. You can join my mailing list. All the links are below if you would like to step in and stay connected. And if not, that's totally okay too. I appreciate your attention and awareness, and I will see you next week.